It's time for the Daily Stand Up Podcast presented by Agile Dad with your host, Lee Henson. Without any further ado, let's get started. I most recently received another interesting email from Mike Cohn. I love receiving emails from him. In this email, he was talking about how can I advance my Agile career? And he says people often ask me what they can do to advance in Agile. Some who ask are looking specifically to advance their careers. Others are looking just to improve in some way, perhaps knowing that improving often does lead to career advancement. Still, others want to improve in ways completely unrelated to work. I don't know if this is a trend or not, Mike, but I'm finding the same thing. I'm getting a lot of people who are asking me, what are the next steps or what's the path? And there are a lot of people out there who are looking for the recipe card. And what I can tell you is I have a son, and I have two sons, but one of my sons, he loves to cook. And one of the things about him cooking is the best things he ever cooks, things that taste the best, are always the ones without a recipe. And it frustrates us to death because when he's cooking, he never writes down what he did. So we're like, can you replicate or do that again? He's like, I don't remember what I did. And it's like, oh man. So it's important for us to understand what we do and in order to be able to replicate it, but we have to have some type of recipe for success, right? So here Mike says he wants to share two tips that can form a framework for advancing yourself. So here's the first tip. The first tip says, treat your own personal development as you treat organizational improvements. Think about something you wish you could do or know, but you just can't right now. Then identify the one most useful step you can take to move you toward that direction. Think of it like gap analysis, but for personal development. I think that's genius. Oftentimes, I tell people to set what I call a Goldilocks goal. It doesn't need to be too far away, but it shouldn't be too close either. It needs to be something that gives you a little bit of a stretch, but something that's still achievable and doable, not something that's just like, what? Okay. Second, he says, set monthly goals for yourself in two areas, in performance and in learning. That's interesting. So, performance goals are things that you want to do. Learning goals represent knowledge or skills that you want to gain. I'm going to pause there for a second. That is a profound statement. I think too often we get people who are using a color palette from what we do, so to speak, the color palette of life, and they're not focused on the things that are going to help them really move forward. They're not crossing the chasm. Or in my world, I always use the analogy GROW or the acronym GROW. So GROW says, what is our goal? What is our reality? How far are we from that goal? Is it something achievable or not? And then what opportunities or options do we have if it is? And then what will we commit to today to help us move forward towards meeting that goal or reaching that goal? And I think that when we do that, that's going to help us move forward in our personal and professional careers. All right. So if you go overboard writing goals in your personal life, though, for everything, you're going to find that you have just a nightmarish list of things that you're trying to do. So the tip that he gives here is to start with 1 to 3 goals of each type, and I think that's very doable and it makes sense. In performance and learning goals, here's his, for example. He says, here's my learning and performance goals for this month. I'm working on a new writing project, so my goals are directed towards that. Write at least 30 minutes a day on 18 days in July. Write for 5 days in a row, sometime during the month, and read 2 particular books that are related to the project or subject matter that I am delivering. These are all great goals. And I can tell you, Mike, that I've done many of these too. And this is what helps me stay focused. This is what helps me stay forward and focused. So I definitely think, Mike, you're on the right track. He said the first two here are performance goals. I'm so busy with many things, but I'm trying to get back into the habit of writing daily. He says to make that happen, I looked to see what else I have to do in July and decided to make 2 performance goals at the top of my list. That makes sense. The last goal is a learning goal. I want to ensure that I know all there's needed for the project, so I want to make sure I read a couple of books. Nothing wrong with that either. Nothing about this is necessarily fancy, but identifying and resolving gaps, as well as giving myself at least one learning and performance goal each month, has helped me advance my career and will help us be successful using Agile. What I can tell you is it's important for us to set achievable goals. It's important for us to understand what those goals are. And it's important for us to set both personal and professional goals. And I think that sometimes, we get so wrapped around the axle of trying to do things technically right or specific that we miss some of the more general high level things that we need to be doing. So my advice here is, thanks, Mike, for the amazing letter. My advice is follow Mike's advice. Do what you need to do in order to be successful, but also understand that if you set goals that are just a little bit outside of your reach, it's going to make it easy for you to reach those goals. If you're constantly setting goals that are just too easy shoe in, it's not going to be as effective for you to teach your mind how to set new learning experiences and get to the point where you have the right goals outlined. So that's going to do it for today. Thanks, Mike, for the wonderful email. If you have a topic you want to talk to us about, learn more at agiledad.com. We would love to hear from you. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, and stay agile, my friends. Until next time, do take care. Bye now.